In this video, we're going to discuss the AI operations intents that are available in Ruckus 1. Let's begin by navigating to AI Assurance, IntentAI, and then filtering the intent table for AI operations intents. There are 4 different AI operations intents. Previously, they were called AI operation recommendations, and the configurations that are automated within each intent are the same, but the UI has changed. Let's outline each of the intents and then take a look at 1 or 2 of them. The network efficiency versus stability on the 2.4 gigahertz radio intent will give the administrators the ability to decide between reductions in the background scan interval, which is going to increase the efficiency by allowing the Wi-Fi network to quickly adapt to changes in interference, or we can keep the background interval unchanged and have a more stable and predictable network. The next 2 intents deal with dynamic frequency selection, or DFS. If you currently weren't running DFS in your environment, you might see the expanded radar channels versus limited channel option intent. This is going to allow the administrators to choose between activating DFS to expand 5 gigahertz channel options, which is going to reduce the congestion and improve the overall network performance. Alternatively, they could keep DFS off to avoid interference with radar or weather systems, which is going to avoid any disruptions from channel switching when radar is detected. On the other hand, if you are using DFS in the network and Ruckus 1 has determined that there have been radar events, you might see the radar interference versus optimal channel availability intent. This is going to allow the administrator to turn off DFS to avoid that radar interference. Likewise, if they wanted to go ahead and keep using DFS to get that optimized channel availability, they could do so. The last intent that we're going to talk about is the optimize for 5 gigahertz radio versus longer range with 2.4 gigahertz. This allows the administrator to decide between optimizing for 5 gigahertz by decreasing the transmit power on the 2.4 gigahertz radio band. When the radio power is reduced, the 2.4 gigahertz range is also reduced, which can allow devices at a closer range to connect using the faster 5 gigahertz radios. Not choosing to lower the transmit power of 2.4 gigahertz will preserve that range, ensuring broader coverage and avoiding the loss of coverage from clients that are maybe near the edge. Back on our IntentAI table view, we can see that we are filtered for those AI operations intents, and our intent column lists many of the intents that we just reviewed. Selecting any of the particular intents is going to give you the ability to do a one-click optimization, or if this was an active intent, you could pause or resume it if it was already paused. We're going to go ahead and click Optimize and just take a look at what it's being presented. So again, we have the wizard here that gives us the introduction and summarizes what this intent is, which zone it's for, and when it was last updated. Choosing next is where we can actually set the intent. So in this case, we're talking about the 5 gigahertz radio optimization or longer range 2.4 gigahertz operations. If we chose to apply this intent, we would be doing a reduction of the transmit power on the 2.4 gigahertz radios. So we have the options of yes, we do want to apply the recommendation, or no, we do not want to apply the recommendation. If we were choosing yes, we would proceed and we would be able to set the time for the zone that we want to push that configuration change. We're going to go back and choose no and say, no, we actually don't want to reduce power on the 2.4 gigahertz radios. And when we choose next, you can see, hey, there's no date and time selection. That's because we're saying, hey, we don't want you to recommend reducing the 2.4 gigahertz power for this zone. And we don't want you to make this recommendation to us anymore. So if I was to go ahead and choose next, it's going to say, hey, IntentAI is going to cease the automated monitoring and change for this intent. We can go back and manually control it, or we can choose resume on this intent after we've made this selection. So if we don't want AI to recommend this to us anymore, we could choose no on that intent and we would be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this and jump back out to the table view. And what I want to take a look at next are intents that are actually already applied. After the intent has been scheduled and the configuration changes have been applied, it moves to an active status where Ruckus 1 continuously monitors the intent against a specific KPI. Each of the KPIs that are monitoring vary between the intents, but we'll take a look at just a few of them. In this intent, we went ahead and optimized for that 5 gigahertz radio by decreasing the transmit power of the 2.4 gigahertz radio. And you can see the actual recommended versus the current adjustment that was made. We can see our session time for 2.4 gigahertz KPI, as well as a co-channel interference ratio KPI for this particular intent. We still see the why are we encouraging this recommendation, as well as the potential trade-off. And again, all of these recommendations have that status trail that we can look at to see when adjustments were made.